All right, I'd like you to picture this. The next time you are dealing with a difficult boss at work, and you've had it up to here, so you decide you're going to go in and have a little talk with your boss, and you walk out of that meeting feeling like, yes! How would you like to have that feeling the next time you had to have one of those little talks with your boss and stand up for yourself and gain a little bit more respect at work? Because that's exactly what we're going to talk about today, turning the tables. Because sometimes you have to overturn the tables in the temple. Are you ready?
What do I say?
DanTheGunnerTraining.com.
If you're watching this and you have a question for me, make sure to put it in the comments below and I'll answer it either on a video like this or in a Periscope video. But if you are not a subscriber and you're new to this channel, I'm communication skills expert Dan O'Connor, and my specialty is tactical communication. I'm an author and a keynote speaker specializing in giving you the words or the nonverbal tactics to help you achieve your communication goal more easily and increase the odds that you will achieve it based on the communication tactics, the tried and true tactics that I'll be giving you. Today, the tactic that I'm going to give you is a tactic that you can use when you've had enough. You've had it up to here. By the way, I burned my finger and my hand. I apologize. But here's Leanna's situation. I'm going to summarize it, okay? Her boss is pretty cool, but when her boss gets ticked off, she starts to engage in passive-aggressive behavior. Leanna is actually Leanna's second name. Her first name is Mary, and she goes by Leanna. Everybody knows her as Leanna. That is her preferred name, and nobody calls her anything but that, except when her boss gets ticked off. That's when her boss decides to pull a power play, because let's be clear, that's what it is when she calls you Mary. For example, she'll say to you something such as, if she's annoyed, "No, Mary, I don't want that." Or, "Good job, Mary." So what do? To have a talk like this with your boss, you want to take her off of work property when you have this little talk, and you want to make it quick. But that's where the bait comes in. So you want to schedule a break of yours right before one of her breaks. And you would walk up to her, show her the treat. Hey, I just happen to have a macchiato with your name on it. I just happen to have a cigarette with your lungs name all over it, whatever it may be. What do you say we walk around the block? It's springtime. Let's enjoy the day. There's something that I wanted to talk with you about, and it's of a personal nature, so I was hoping that we could get out of here for a minute. If your boss does ask you something like, "Hey, sure, I can do that, but what's this about?" Tell her something like, "Well, it's of a personal nature, so I'd appreciate it if we talked about this outside of work, if that's okay. I just needed your help with something." That will get her curiosity going. She'll be like, "Oh, okay. What do you need to talk to me about?" Because you still haven't said anything like, "We need to talk." Don't say that. Remember, danger phrase, danger, danger, danger. Do not ever start out a conversation or use a lead-in line such as, "We need to talk," or "Come see me." Those are danger phrases because those produce a negative, toxic, actually, biochemical response in the person to whom we deliver that lead-in line, because we have been trained to know nothing good has ever come after that ever in the history of the world. No one's ever said, "We need to talk. I just bought you a brand new car." No one's ever done that. So when we hear these phrases, we close our lines of communication and brace ourselves. However, if you were to say to your boss something like, "Hey, do you have a few minutes?" Because I'm telling you, I have a cold Mountain Dew with your name written all over it. And if you could walk around the block with me on this beautiful spring day, I think that would be awesome. That's how you'd set up a talk like this, okay? So then when you go out and you're, now out of the workplace, you are in the garden, you're on the rooftop, wherever you are, you're no longer on her turf. You're on neutral turf. You are now speaking woman to woman. I would say that. In a talk like this, I found it to be very effective if I'm talking to another man to say something like, "John, I appreciate you coming out here and talking with me like this man to man." Or you could say to your boss, "Trixie, there is something I need your help with, and I wanted to bring it to you and discuss it with you woman to woman." When you use that particular phrase, woman to woman, man to man, if you're of two different genders, that's a little tricky. You can't say man to woman, woman to man. So I would leave that alone. Unless you could say something such as, let's say that you're really into your job, thespian to thespian, man to man, woman to woman, hombre to hombre. When you start off a conversation like that, what you're telling somebody is, I'm respecting you and coming to you directly rather than going around you, gossiping about you, going over your head. I'm bringing this to you because I respect you. That's what you're saying to somebody, and that's what you're doing. I would lead in with something such as, this is my lead-in line. Trixie, I've been frustrated and I need your help. So I'm coming to you woman to woman. Like, say that, okay? Now, if you say that, that will set it up so that she will open the lines of communication and be like, what is it? And want to hear the message that comes after it rather than bracing herself or becoming defensive right off the bat, okay? Once you've said that, then you're going to overturn the tables, okay? When you turn the tables, what that really means is it's come time for a reckoning. I don't know if you've ever had this where I have a nephew, Eamon, and he thinks he's so smart, and there have been times where Eamon has said things to me that are kind of putting me in my place. Things that say to me, Dan, it's time to be a grown-up. You need to be a grown-up. You are a grown-up. Act like a grown-up. And when somebody who's beneath us on the totem pole, when somebody who is, a subordinate of ours or somehow in our charge, whatever it may be, says something like that to us, where the essence of their message is, hey, I expect more from you. You are a grown-up. Act like a grown-up. When people say things like that to us, it's like, oh my God. I remember when Eamon says that to me, I'm like, oh God. Now I have to, if it came to this, if this is where it's come to where you are calling me out on my behavior and saying, hey, I need an adult. You're supposed to be an adult. Would you act like an adult? It's like, okay. All right, I have no choice now but to act like an adult since you have called me on it because I'm now humiliated and embarrassed into behaving the way I should be behaving if you're calling me on it. So that's exactly what we're going to do to your boss. The phrases that I would use are going to be things such as, I expect better from you. I expect more of you. You're better than that. I would hope that in the future. Can I count on you for that? Those phrases, memorize them, write them down, use them. By the way, for more lead-in lines and specific verbal tactics like these, the ones we're talking about here, when you really need to find your voice in the workplace, you will find more of these in our comprehensive course, Step Out of the Shadows and Speak. So if you're looking for more of those types of things, I'll help you and I'll work with you so that you can get the resources that you need to help you, whatever it is that you need help with. Just ask. It's amazing what you can get when you ask for it. So if somebody would like some of the things that we have in our store, I know times are tough. So if it's tough for you, but you need something, let me know. And I will make sure that you get whatever you need and you can afford it. Okay. So I would also take the high road by using phrases such as, I don't judge you for your mistakes. You can always come to me. See, I love turning the tables. It's one of my favorite things to do because it takes people so off guard and it's so effective. So you're going to tell, here are the things that popped into my brain. Let's say that her name is Trixie, because that's what I've decided her name is. I'm going to tell Trixie, I'm going to give you the whole message and then I'll pick it out when I'm done. Okay. Trixie, I am frustrated and I need your help. So I wanted to come to you woman to woman and talk to you about something. Okay? Now, of course, that would be assuming that I am you. And she'll be like, oh my gosh, what is it? Here's how I would put it. Trixie, you may not know why I prefer not to be called by my first legal name, but instead my preferred name, Leanna. But you do know that I prefer to be called Leanna and not Mary. You know that. Okay, now I've said it. At this point, your boss is probably going to interrupt and say, oh, you know what? And try to say something, but remember, use the 3-step anti-interrupter. I'm still speaking. Please let me finish. Now, the only time I would add something like, please let me finish, as I added there, is if it's my boss. If it's somebody that I don't want to bruise their ego because that would not serve me. That's not going to help me get to the effective end that I'm looking for. Okay. So I would, however, stop them from speaking and say something like, I'm still speaking. Please let me finish. I'm still speaking. I would like to hear what you have to say when I'm done. All right. But be firm. Okay. Do not let them interrupt you as you then proceed to say something such as, and I also know that when you are upset with me, sometimes instead of being upfront about it and just coming to me with what you have to say, you take the passive aggressive route, and we know, you know, and I know that you do it, and you call me by my first name. It's hostile, and you're doing it rather than just being upfront with me. And I want you to know, I don't judge you for your mistakes. I do not. You know, when you don't say something the right way, we all do that. This is not a mistake, however. This isn't on purpose. And when you do that, I can't help but think, you're better than that. You know, and I expect more from you. I do. And I hope that you know, no matter what you have to tell me, no matter what message you have, if you're disappointed in me, if you're angry with me, if you think that I did something that I should not have done and you want to bring that up with me, you can always come to me and just tell me. I can take it. I'm a professional. There's nothing I can imagine you saying to me that I couldn't take. Except for when you're doing it in a passive aggressive way, that I just can't abide, because I like our professional relationship. And I like the fact that I feel free to come to you with things, woman to woman, and be upfront with you. And I want you to feel that same way with me, that no matter what it is, you can tell me, because I can take it. So I hope that in the future, we can put the whole calling me by my first name in a passive aggressive way thing to rest. And if you have a problem with me, just bring it to me, and you and I will be totally cool, and we will never have to have this type of conversation again, because I don't want to have this type of conversation again with you. So can I count on you to do that from now on and just be upfront with me, woman to woman? What do you say? Now, at that point, your boss is going to be so flabbergasted that you said all of those things, but she will realize, what of any of those things could I possibly be mad at her for? Could I possibly reprimand her for? Should I be offended about? All I should be is ashamed, if there's any truth to that my employee has come to me saying all of those things, when that's normally the other way around. And if my employee is coming to me in that way, you know, that straightforward, woman to woman, upfront, powerful, saying those types of things, turning the tables, the only thing that she will have to say is, okay, you're right. Let's put it behind us. You know, I apologize. You will get an agreement. Now, having said that, the essence of assertive communication is straightforward, honest communication. That's what this is. And when somebody's being passive aggressive, as your boss was, they can't handle somebody who's straightforward and direct with them. And it's the most powerful thing that you can do to combat that type of behavior. So when you do that, when you talk this way to your boss, if she pushes it, you know, once in a blue moon, it's hard to change a habit, and I have to forgive people. You know, if she calls you by your first name again, you know, and then comes back to you and says, I apologize. I was just having a bad day. You know, forgive her. Atone. That's the best thing you could possibly do. And help her, you know, show her that I know it's a process, but you and I will work through this process together. But if she calls you Mary, let's say in front of somebody else, again, to deliberately humiliate you, belittle you, or be retaliatory, whatever it may be, stop her and say something such as, now this is taking it to a new level. I am glad for the times I've done this type of thing in my life, where I'll say something such as, all right, I was trying to be nice, Trixie. However, if you use that name again, I will make sure it is the only name you will ever be able to use again with me. And the reason I'm telling you that is I'm trying to save you the embarrassment that will come with explaining to everybody here at work why you're calling me Mary from now on when nobody knows me as Mary. How come you're calling me Mary? Somebody will have to tell them that it's because of your hostile, demeaning, passive-aggressive behavior that you, as opposed to anyone else in this organization, have been mandated to call me by that and only that name. That might be a little bit embarrassing for you, and I'm trying to save you that embarrassment. So what do you say you knock it off and don't use it one more time so that it doesn't come to that? What do you think about that, Trixie? You know, now, at that point, you're going to be throwing down the gauntlet again, And you have to decide, is it worth it for me? It sounds to me like it's worth it for you. And it sounds to me like you're a very straightforward, assertive, polished communicator who's had enough. So when you've had enough, remember, this is not a sorority. You might want to tell that to your boss. If it comes to that second round where you have to remind her, hey, I'm trying to save you some embarrassment. You might want to remind her, this is not a sorority. This is not rush week. I don't have to put up with any form of humiliation, retaliation, or abuse from you or anyone else in this organization. That's not what this is about. This is a professional organization, and what you're doing is not professional. So because of that, I'm giving you the last warning. If you proceed to harass me, belittle me, and somehow try and pull a power play and humiliate me by using that name one more time, you will have no more choices but to use that name, and it shall be embarrassing for you once you are mandated to that and only that name. When you start to throw around words like mandate, people listen and are like, what is she talking about? Because this is another word you might want to remember for the workplace. When I'm the only one who has been singled out as someone who, instead of using the preferred name that I told you I like to use, you instead call me by another name, I am being treated unequally in this organization, and I won't stand for that.
Okay, now I think this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it. At this point, your boss could very well say to you, all right, Mary, you're fired, Mary. That could happen. I mean, we're all adults here. If it does, however, you will feel better about that firing than any other firing ever.
Now, that's very different from, I don't think it's fair when you call me by your name. A lot of people will use the word unfair in the workplace. Remember, unfair, total danger word, garbage word, delete word. That word has no use in the workplace. It has no meaning in the workplace. Fair, schmear, this is not about fair. What did you just say? Unequal? That all of a sudden is professional language. So if you need to bring it up in that context, talk about how that type of name calling, which is what it is singling me out for some reason, and I am being treated unequally, unlike others in this organization. Why is that? Just ask the question and don't stand for it. It sounds like, there's at work, we all have a cost benefit analysis that we do where we decide, is this worth it? Is this not? And I'm not here to tell you whether or not it's worth it to you. It sounds to me like it's worth it to you. And once that voice whispers, enough, I've had enough, it's time for me to stand up. Don't just stand up. Overturn the tables in the temple. And remember to download the materials that go along with this particular lesson so that you can practice them in advance and really be ready to give it to them once it's time for you to stand up for yourself, find your voice, and speak up. Step out of the shadows and speak. By the way, speaking of step out of the shadows, check all of those things out at the store. Make sure that before you go there, you subscribe to this channel and pick up the free resources that you'll find there as well. Subscribe to this channel and make sure to share this with other people who may need this type of information. Share this on Facebook and Twitter and any place else people go for this type of information before coming back here and watching some more of these great videos. Oh, I think you will like the video that I'm going to recommend at the end of this just for you. If you're interested in this topic, check out the video that comes after this because you're going to like that too. And remember to subscribe and hit the bell button so that you're notified when more videos like this come out. And remember, above all else, you can deliver any message in a loving way. You really can. The message that I just delivered today, that was a loving way because I was showing you what somebody who loves himself or herself behaves like. And remember, if you're hunker down with some people that you love, speak loving words to them. You can do it. No matter what message you have to deliver, you can deliver it in a loving way. You can do that. I can help you. And what I really hope is that no matter where you are, you're with people that you really love and who love you right back. So for everybody here at Dan O'Connor Training, this is Dan O'Connor signing off.